All right. Shall we just go ahead and start?
Sounds good.
Okay, can you do roll call for me?
Sure will. Welcome, everybody. We have a new member, Tyler Mitchell, on tonight. So I'm going to let him introduce himself. Welcome, Tyler.
Thank you and good afternoon. Good evening, everybody. My name is Tyler Mitchell. I work in the Brighton area, kind of 5-county Southeast Michigan area, with a regional park system called the Huron-Clinton Metro Parks, who I'm sure many of you know. We're down in the Southeast Michigan region. So I'm the chief of natural resources for the parks and sort of manage everything land, water, and wildlife, including responses to pollutants and contaminants such as PFAS. So just happy to be here and kind of listen in on how this group's progressing. I was hanging around a couple of meetings when this group first started, but never joined because it was very focused on what I thought were more kind of like public utility issues and drinking water and things like that. But I've watched some of your recordings and found them really interesting and useful. So I'm just glad to be joining you all today.
Thank you, Tyler. So at the beginning of every meeting, we go through and do roll call. And then also it's an opportunity for members, if they have any updates to provide on their community, they have the opportunity to do that as well. Brad.
Yep, I'm here and I don't have any updates to share for the area. Thanks.
Christina. Connie.
Yeah, present. Been meeting with 6 representatives from Wayne County talking about PFAS and that kind of thing. So it's been good. All right, that's it from my end.
Thank you, Connie. Dan Brown.
Dan is here. Not too much to report. There's a story in Bridge, Michigan that was written by Bridge's summer intern, Ashley Zhao, and talks about the Riverwalker program and reaching anglers with PFAS information, contaminant information, fish. So encourage everybody to check that out.
Thank you, Dan. Daniel Burlingame. David Norwood. Dave Wynn. Elizabeth. Gail Mansowitz. Gail Dugan, he joined earlier, 10 minutes early actually, and he's got a Brownfield meeting to go to tonight, so he asked to be excused for tonight. Okay. James Hagar.
I don't see him.
Jason Legowski.
I am here and nothing to report.
Thank you. Jeffrey Dutton. Jeremy Walsh. Joe.
I don't see him.
John. Justin. And Harvey. Laura Ogar. Leah. Lynn Knopf. She sent me an email earlier today saying where she's located, the internet was spotty, so she was hoping to join by phone. But
There is a Lynn on the thing, but I can't tell if it's Lynn McIntosh or Lynn Knopf.
Lynn McIntosh.
That's a Lynn McIntosh for you.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, you couldn't see the blue eyes that went with that. I do
Nope.
I have a bit of an update and also a practical question regarding protocol here with things, not things, with sites listed on the MPART site. I have been following, there is another site, not technically related to Wolverine Worldwide, so it is, the area is all around its headquarters, so we'll see. And now I've heard just in phone conversations that indeed they're going to be another meeting that's going to be scheduled to test out further, because there have been hits with the FOS and BFA. And I'm the sort of person that likes to have data, but I don't know when something is listed on the MPART site. Do you still need to FOIA? What's the best way to get the information? I don't want to put anybody in a spot they don't want to be in, but if is it legit to simply ask to see that information as someone concerned, not living in that area, but concerned? Because basically, a lot of these people, that there are people on the street standing northeast that went to school with my kids, so, but I don't live in the township. So I'm just wondering, how does that work? Is it the site lead? Is it
Yeah,
or is, do you have to FOIA it? That's the main question. What's the protocol regarding?
yeah, because we haven't been able to keep up with being able to put the updated data on the website. So
Right, and I understand that.
yeah, so
and that's understandable. It's just I don't want to be burdensome, and yet I really do want to know what's going on. So
I would check in with the site lead and see if they've got information they can share with you. Often if they can just share a map or at least give you some idea of what the status is, that's probably what you're really looking for versus trying to go through the FOIA route. But if it's going to require a lot of digging through the file, or you've got, multiple divisions that you would have to dig through, then that's where we would ask that you do a FOIA. But definitely start with the site leads so that they can advise you on what information they actually have and what's the status of that investigation, because I think that's going to be your best lead. So
if I do know that a second round of testing has been completed, because the site lead has been in contact with me, which I appreciate. Site lead's on vacation this week, which I understand. But but I've not known if it was appropriate to say, well, could I see the map? Could I please see the test results? And where these places are located. That I don't know. What if I'm not from that area, but I care and I live in Rockford? I mean, is it appropriate? Is that public information at this point? Since we now have a site
we try to generate maps that aren't what Eagle would not consider would have any personally identifiable information on them. So we try to put the dots on the map in a way that they don't have addresses, but you could still see the dots and see kind of where they're located. So that kind of information is definitely available. Whether or not they've got those maps generated yet is another matter, but definitely, start with the site lead and see if they've got maps that they can share with you. Because we do try to generate maps that are easily shareable with both the public and with other agencies.
But what if, I'm sorry to stick with it, but it's an important question. What if, it's going to be 2 weeks or more before a map is available. And what if, I've had the experience where I really want to know what's going on with some of these people. I had a piano student who lived out on that street, who, when I look back on, I realized had some health problems, and I'm thinking, I don't want to just, I want to know the facts, and I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to pry, but I want to know, what were the test results? Like, okay, what was the highest hit? What are the results going in this direction and that direction? I feel like I could read that. before it's on a map. So I'm not trying to like put anyone on the spot, but is that public information? Is it okay? Is it appropriate to ask it information? Or is there this is a gray area? That's all. And I haven't wanted to put the site lead or anybody on the spot, but I would like to know as much detail as is available. That's all.
Lynn, can I give you a call tomorrow and we can talk more about it? Because this particular site's like 2 miles from my house, so I am also watching it very closely.
Yeah.
And I think you and I can have more discussion on it, because there is some, technically the data we get into Eagle, if it comes into Eagle, is FOIAble, but we do try to be careful with, personally identifiable information. So we would just need to make sure before it would go out through FOIA, it would have to get redacted on some of that stuff. So we'd probably rather give you information that's actually usable to you, and not something that's going to have tons of redactions on it. So let's talk, and I will send you an email and see what time you're available tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine. I just feel like it's a broader question though too. It's not just for my particular situation, but the sooner, like if you're go to a doctor's appointment, the sooner you get the results, the better.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
And like, here's a situation where the person who did the BEA, the company, environmental consultant, they knew about this September a year ago. And Eagle did not get the information until April. So they waited 6 months, right? With that. And now what? We're coming into September again. And I'm like, and I'll bring it up again later, but I would hope that as a member of this group, I'm capable of understanding the information. I want to understand the situation. I want to be right there as it's happening, because I can't care about every site in Michigan, but I can certainly care about these ones here in my backyard. That's all. So it's a question I do put out there, and I'm sorry to take so long, but
Nope, it's a good question, Lynn, and I think every generally speaking, we try to be as transparent as possible, but we do have to protect some of the personally identifiable information and do some redactions. So every particular site is in a different stage of investigation, so we try to share as much as we can. So there's no pat answer that I can give you other than to say it's kind of depends on the stage of the site. But for this one, I think you and I can have a conversation. I can help you out with what I know at least, and we can kind of go from there.
Okay, thank you, Abby.
Yeah, I was going to say, Lynn, I think you bring up a really good point, but we have some speakers. I'd like to go first, and then let's circle back to this towards the end of the meeting, because I think those are really valid points you brought up, and it goes back into that discussion. So
sure, yeah, that's fine. Yep, got
it. Can I ask you a big question here? I can hear your conversation on the phone, but I cannot see on the screen.
Okay. Did you join via computer too, Joe?
Right. I could not somehow see anything. So I clicked that Microsoft link, but
I see you dialed in, but I don't see you joined through the computer. So hang up on the computer side and try going back into that link again and see if it works. But don't hang up on the phone. Leave the phone open. We're good there.
Just jump in here real quick. I had the same problem when I joined. If you try logging off and try logging back in, that might fix it. But for some reason, the last couple of days, I've been having that issue with Teams where you come in on a black screen, and it's like it connects audio only. So I'm not sure what's going on there.
It says when the meeting starts, we'll let people know you're waiting, but nothing is happening.
Maybe you clicked on the wrong link.
Maybe.
I would try hopping off and hopping back on, Joe. That fixed it for me.
All right. Thank you.
It's always something.
Joe, we got you down for attendance, so that's great. Margaret. Mary.
Mary is here, and thank you to Jeff Wright for joining us today. I also would like to state that we are still waiting to hear on the Holly, Michigan Falk Road dump town hall. And we were told originally it was supposed to be in March or April, and we're still waiting to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, Joe, you can hang up on your phone now. Thank you. Pam McQueer. Patty Baldwin.
I'm here and nothing new to report, but regarding the logging in issue, I was having an issue as well. Turns out I had the app open on my computer and I was trying to access it from my browser. So I happened to have both open at the same time. And of course, one wasn't doing any video, one wasn't doing anything. And so I had to make sure I closed out of one and went to the other. So maybe that will help out other folks.
Thank you, Patty. Gotta love technology, right? Rick Burns. Rick Radisky.
I see Rick Burns is on the thing. He's just not speaking. So
yes, I'm on. This is Rick. Thank you. No updates.
Great. Thank you, Rick. Bob Pataki. Samra. Sandy Wynn. Yeah.
I'm here. No updates.
Shalene. Stacy Taylor. I see you.
Yep.
Can't hear you. Teresa Landrum. Tony.
Yeah, I'm here. No updates, but just want to extend an invitation to everyone. This is not an Oscoda thing, but there will be a public screening and panel of the No Defense PFAS film documentary and a panel discussion in Grayling at the Kirkland Community College on September 16th. I think it's at 6 p.m. and I'll circulate information later on, but it's free and it's open to the public, and please tell your friends. Thanks.
Thank you, Tony. Bill Barnett.
Present. Nothing new.
And we made it, Sandy.
That took a minute, but we got it through it. So good. They have a better turnout than I thought we would. All right. So Mary was the one that connected us with Jeff and thought he would be great to kind of give a little presentation here. So Mary, if you want to do the introduction, or if I could just let him take it away from here, that's fine. It's up to you.
I would be happy to give a little bit of an introduction. I took some information off the Genesee County Drain Commission website, and Jeff has been with the Genesee County Drain Commission. He is from the Atherton-Bentley area. He's been married to his wife Kay for 36 years and has 3 children and 9 grandchildren. And prior to being elected to this office, he spent 23 years working for Commissioner Anthony Ragnone as an inspector, a right-of-way agent, and as the Deputy Drain Commissioner of this department. He also has been listed on many different boards, and that. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it. I had previously seen you on a Sierra Club meeting, and you were discussing the PFAS with the water treatment system. And I thought this would be a good opportunity for us to learn more about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. The only thing I would change on the biography is I've been married 40 years now, as opposed to 46
Oh,
when that was completed. And it's been a great 40 years. And I give a lot to my wife, who has put up with me for that period of time. I would say that our office, we actually service 5 different counties in wastewater collection and treatment: Saginaw, Shiawassee, Lapeer, Oakland, Livingston, and Genesee counties. Altogether, we have 3 wastewater treatment plants. On an average day, we process approximately 35 to 40 million gallons of wastewater. And at the end of the year, that 35 to 40 million gallons of wastewater from those 5 counties generates around 20 million gallons of biomass or sewer sludge. So PFAS has become a big issue for all of us. You probably know as much or more about a lot of areas than I do. I concentrate mainly on the biomass area. We also have a almost new water treatment facility. We built a pipeline to Lake Huron called the Carignan Pipeline, and a new water treatment plant, which is permitted by the state also. So we have a lot of data on not only the source water distribution system for water, the collection system and treatment system for wastewater. And for me, it's taught me a lot of things. So I start my presentation with, how did we get here, the PFAS? And I have to go all the way back. We got our stuff up. You have to excuse me for a moment. How did we get here? Next one.
Next slide.
PFAS actually originated in 1939, Penn State professor, and it's a simple chain of molecules. It's a carbon chain of molecules surrounded by a fluorine chain of molecules, and that's what the basic PFAS is. Next. Almost everybody I talk to, and I do talk to a lot of people about this, believe that PFAS comes from firefighting foam at our air bases, at our airports, from our fire departments and everything. When you look at TV ads for the litigation, you read most of the articles, they all concentrate on firefighting foam. Here's the reality. PFAS, this is just a partial list of products that we use every day personally and in our homes that have some form of PFAS in them. And when I first realized this was about 3 years ago, and I've been on this issue ever since personally. All of these products, many of them in our homes, is why we currently have PFAS in our biomass. Most latest, that's most interesting to me because I treat so much wastewater, it's even been found in toilet paper.
Hey, Jeff, can you advance the slides? They're not advancing.
They're not?
No.
Okay, here, we'll start it. Where do you see on the screen?
Now I see the house. Oops.
The house.
Now I see nothing. It's gone.
What did you see last?
There we go.
There we
It's
see
just,
the,
it's not
where
in
does-
presentation mode. There you go. Okay. So.
Did you see the chemist picture?
No. All we saw was the first slide.
Go back to the chemist picture.
There
Did
we
you see
go.
that?
Yes.
That is where PFAS originated.
Okay.
Most people, I'll go back to the firefighting.
All right. Looks like you're in, if you go, I'm not sure who's controlling your screen, but if you go up to display settings at the very top of that screen, you can put it into presenter mode instead of the.
Apologize.
That's all right.
Yeah, not in Teams. It'll be in your, or maybe you can try just down at the, yeah, there you go. Start from the beginning. Let's try that. All right, we'll just do this.
Here. Go. Did you see the firefighting foam?
Yep.
Okay. As I said, most people, 9 out of 10 people believe that that's where all the PFAS comes from. Firefighting foam. That's what the media talks about. That's what the newspaper articles talk about. The litigation and the attorneys on their commercials talk about firefighting foam. Next. This is a partial list. Can you see the list? Can you see the list?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're good.
This is a partial list of products that have PFAS in them, in our homes, in our businesses, etc. And I realized this about 3 years ago because, well, as I go on, you'll see why. So that's a partial list. Next. This is the latest that's been found to have PFAS in it. Can you see the rolls of toilet paper?
Yep.
Next. So we have a unique ability to test in a full circle. What you see at the upper left-hand corner is a picture of Lake Huron where our intake for water is. The EPA and private companies and our office test for PFAS at our intake at parts per trillion. And it's non-detect at parts per trillion. It goes to our wastewater treatment plant on the upper right where we test again. And outside agencies test again. And it tests non-detect at parts per trillion. It goes into our homes and businesses where all those products are used, goes into that pipeline that supplies drinking water, or excuse me, we also test our distribution lines for drinking water. It's non-detect. Then everything goes into the sanitary sewer collection system and ends up at our one of our wastewater treatment plants, which is the lower left-hand side. Now that we're at the plant, we have PFAS in the waste stream. It's not at the intake. It's not at the treatment plant. It's not in the distribution system for the drinking water pipes, but it is in our biomass sewer sludge. It is below all federal levels for the current requirements and state levels. We register between 5 and 7 parts per trillion. The guidelines right now are 20 parts per trillion is the first action level, and then there's some other action levels beyond that. So we do meet all federal and state guidelines currently, but it is truly interesting to me that because of what we use in our homes, mainly our Teflon pans, our cosmetics, our deodorants, our waterproof clothing, etc., our stain resistant materials, that we're literally washing it in our homes and flushing it down the sewer systems. And septic systems. This is one that usually catches people by surprise because there are millions of these across the country, a few million in the state of Michigan. If everything that is said about PFAS is true, which I do believe it is, every septic field out there is becoming, in my opinion, a potential toxic waste site because we're doing the exact same thing. Whether you're using city water or well water, you're still washing all those things into your septic tank, into your filtration system where it stays. Most septic systems last 25 to 30 years. The question is going to become at some point, what do you do when you have to replace that septic system? Do you just spread the soils across your yard? Do you take it to a toxic waste site? So it's a much bigger issue, in my opinion, than most people realize. It's not just firefighting foam. This is just a chart that shows our PFAS testing. Again, we test all in trillions parts per, and that's what we end up with at the end of the day. Now, this biomass that I'm talking about currently has three options to deal with the biomass: land application, landfill, and incineration. Every county in the state of Michigan currently has some land application programs. This is the areas in a general sense that have them. They're located by zones. They're all permitted by the state of Michigan Eagle. This is our current biomass land application program. The farmers love it. We used to love it till we found out about the PFAS, even though it's below action level considerably. And we're doing things to address that, which I will talk about in a moment. But that is still what most of the biomass that comes from wastewater treatment plants across the state and the country, most of it ends up in land application. The farmers love it, as I say, because it's organic. Other than the PFAS, it truly improves the soil. You're not putting synthetic fertilizers on, which over time can destroy the soil, in my opinion. But that's our current process. Another process that we're certainly looking at currently is landfill. Of course, they have to be certified landfills to accept it, and that's what we're working towards currently. And the final option is something we used to do for several years in Genesee County. That's our incineration building, which we shut down in the 80s and went to land application. There is the possibility, if the rules keep changing at the EPA and the Eagle level, that we may have to go back to incineration, which is not something I'm in favor of, but it's a possibility because of the different issues that all the different agencies are trying to address. Problems with incineration, as I say, we did it for many years. It's got safety issues. It's definitely more costly. And then there's the potential for air pollution, particularly in the surrounding area. Picture of our one of our wastewater treatment plant with the incineration building. The current best solutions that we see and we're doing currently is that there are several things to do that can reduce that volume. The first thing is digesters. The second is dewatering, with the ultimate goal of reducing it and the truck traffic by a 13-to-1 margin. Currently, to landfill that 12 million gallons, we're looking at approximately 3,500 semi-truck loads a year. When we're all said and done, by reducing the volumes, we can reduce that to under 500 truckloads a day, which is also a safety traffic issue. So the first thing we started last year was a $35 million digester project. That's an aerial photo under construction. It's a win for us. Number one, it reduces the volumes considerably. The engineers tell me between 35 to 45%, but it also will generate methane gas. And they're telling me that it'll generate enough methane gas to actually operate the electrical needs for that same wastewater treatment plant that I showed you earlier. About 90% of the needs for that plant on an annualized basis. The only time that it might not be able to keep up with the demand is peak times when there's a huge rain event, those types of things. But we're very encouraged by this facility. Number one, it reduces the volumes, which ultimately go to landfill. And number two, it generates usable electricity from a biomass. It's also listed in the state's renewable energy categories. This is just another picture of the building going up, the control building. Go ahead. And another picture. The other area that we just got them delivered, part of our problems, along with everybody across the country, is getting parts delivered. This is an American-made product here. These are centrifuges that also reduce the volume by approximately another 40%. And it took us almost 12 months to get these delivered. 3 years ago, you could have got them in about 4 months. So we're installing them. Between the digesters, the centrifuges, and some other improvements, we hope to reduce the 12 million gallons that we generate on an annualized basis of biomass to around 2.5 to 3 million gallons of biomass, which would go to landfill at that point. My preferable solution is stop the PFAS at its source. Bottom line is, if it's as dangerous as it is stated to be, which I believe that it is, why are we still using it in all those products? And then telling the people at the locals level to pay to clean it up, pay to treat it, pay to get rid of it, when to me, the simple solution is to stop the use of it. I've talked about it with our regulators in Lansing and Washington, and it's not something that they're really interested in at this time. They want to talk about cleaning up PFAS, but my concern is, why are we still using it, and why aren't we ending the use of it? The bottom line is, people don't think it can be done. Well, they didn't think it could be done with DDT. They didn't think it could be done with the PCPs or PCBs, excuse me, and other products that we have gotten out of our processes over the years. So to me, that's the long term and the only way to go. We need to change the conversation into the stopping of the use of PFAS. So I encourage, Congressman Kildee's got an effort underway. I encourage you in my area, the people in my area, if he's your congressman, to contact his office and to contact any offices of any elected representatives from whatever area you're in. I'll be glad to take any questions and comments and go from there.
Thank you. That was wonderful. I appreciate that. Any questions or comments? I see Mary's got her hand up, and then Connie. So Mary, go ahead.
Thanks. Jeff, I just have one question. Is there, in your system, are there definite breaks between residential use and industrial use of pipes coming into your wastewater treatment plant?
It's a good question. If you look at different communities across the state, there are several communities that were industrial communities for the last 100 years. Flint, Pontiac, Saginaw, Detroit, etc. And most of those folks have wastewater systems that do have a lot of chemical-based wastewater. Genesee County is 99% residential. Our system was built in the 70s and 80s to accommodate housing and apartments, etc. We really do not have an industrial base that actually utilizes our sewer system. We have a few small facilities that we handle through our IPP programs, which monitors what they put in the system. And none of the small facilities that use our wastewater collection system utilize PFAS in their process. So it's coming out of all those other products. It's a very good question, though, particularly for the older communities who still have an industrial base to some extent and still use the products.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Connie?
Yeah, Jeff, that raises another question. Do you serve Flint? Because Flint used to have the GM assembly plant, the engine plant. There was a lot of industrial base there in Genesee County, just like Wayne County. So you didn't treat then the industrial base?
Good question. It's a very good question. Flint still does have some industrial base. They still have the truck plant. They still have the engine plant, and they run totally on a separate system outside of my jurisdiction. there's a lot of confusion over a lot of issues between Flint and Genesee County. Flint is a standalone community when it comes to their drinking water and their wastewater. Totally separate system. They're also what you call a combined system. They still have rainwater, stormwater hooked into some of their sanitary sewer systems. Our county system is solely sanitary sewer. Two separate systems, two sets of pipes. There are no interconnections.
Okay, one last question. Biosolid application. You allowed the biosolids from your plant to go onto farm fields.
Yes,
And Eagle allowed you to do that.
yes.
So therefore, you as the generator of the biosolids and Eagle that gave you the approval are potentially responsible parties for the cleanup of the farmers' fields now.
Yes.
I hope you convince Eagle of that too.
Well, that is why I'm spending close to $60 million to reduce the volume so I can take it to landfill as opposed to land app or ultimately incinerate it. You have to remember too that whatever we do, and again, this is why it upsets me so much that it's even in the system. I got to spend $60 million of the people's money right here in Genesee County, a lot of people that live below the poverty line to do this. And they, yes, they are liable in litigation down the road, potentially. And that's why we're moving as quickly as we can to put in the digester system, the centrifuges, to reduce that volume, because when I go to landfill, the price goes up. Right now, I do land application for about $1.5 million a year. To go to landfill is going to juice that up to about $4 million a year, even at the reduced volume. To incinerate it goes to around $6.5 million a year. So our ultimate goal is to get to landfill as quickly as possible. It is going to raise the price to the people to do that. And that's what grinds me the most. I got to repeat it. Why is it allowed to be put in the system in the first place to make a profit off of? And then we're told we got to clean it up at the locals' expense.
It's my experience, Jeff, has been that when it comes to state government and Eagle, it's the applicant, the industry that always has high priority over us regular folks. Just always seems to be that case.
I'm not going to argue with you on that one, but you also have to throw the feds in and the EPA on this one. There's actually only one state in the country at this point in time that has banned land application, and that's Maine. Every other state in the country allows it with EPA approval. The state also sets guidelines, but those guidelines are tailored after the EPA regulations. The EPA is currently trying to pass promulgated rules that do just what you say. Make us responsible for any litigation, lawsuits, and cleanup, even though they allowed it in their promulgated rules to start with. To me, that's
not
wrong.
right. I agree. One last thing, Jeff, is all landfill liners eventually leak. Sometimes they even leak after installation. So we're going to have contaminants around all the landfills.
You have them all around those septic fields at every one of those houses.
You're right.
Too.
You're right.
Okay, you guys are depressing us now. You're making us sad.
Pardon? I didn't catch that.
You're making us all sad now. I'm breaking you and Connie out here.
I hope we all get sad enough to start telling people we don't want this anymore, period.
I know. Okay, Rick, and then Joe.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Jeff, thanks for the presentation. I agree with you about banning PFAS. The problem with that, of course, is that not everyone in the world agrees with the bans we've already got in place in the United States due to lax environmental standards. particularly Asia, which we import quite a bit of consumer goods that
Yes,
eventually
sir.
get disposed. So that's going to take years or decades probably to put a ban in effect. But if that's what it takes, it's probably a good idea. So my other question is about the landfilling of biosolids. You get into the issue of cycling PFAS, right? That anything PFAS laden that goes into a landfill eventually comes out in leachate and typically goes to one of your wastewater treatment plants.
That's correct.
But adding more PFAS increases the problem. And then as I understand it, that the wastewater treatment plants don't want it, of course. That's what IPP is for. But at the same time, somebody's got to pay for wastewater treatment at landfills, and they don't produce them. They're passive receivers, is their argument, just like wastewater treatment plants. So how do you figure out a fair way to distribute the cost? Ultimately, all of us on the phone and all the consumers that use landfills, we all do, and wastewater treatment plants or septic tanks for that matter. That's the dilemma, in my view. Is who pays.
You brought up a great question, and it's worth talking about a little bit more. You use the word passive in your statements, just like we are. We don't generate it. We receive it and have to do something with it. Landfills are no different. They don't generate it either. The same products that are in your homes are the same products that go to that landfill. We test more than probably any other entity in the state of Michigan for these reasons. We monitor the leachate that comes out of every landfill that we service. The landfills generate about 40% of the PFAS that I receive at my treatment plant. Of the 5 to 7 parts per trillion that I get into my plant, 40% of that comes from landfills. You also talk about something that I call closed loop. If you can get a partnership, at least temporarily, with the landfills, where we're basically sending it back and forth. So it's a closed loop system. At least we know where it's at. We know where to monitor it. We know how to deal with it. I'm not saying that's the best solution, but for a temporary solution, that's what I would consider. Short of that, we have to go to incineration, which is the last thing I want to do. And then the idea of who should pay for it. I'm a simpleton. The people that truly use it in their products to mass produce their products and sell them to the people, they should have some sort of surcharge put on their products that goes solely for the cleanup of these products. Whether it's landfill, whether it's wastewater treatment plants, whether it's Air Force bases, airports, to me, that's where the money should be generated from. The people that are making the money off of it, that's where it should come from.
Seems like a logical solution to me. All right. Thank you. Joe, I think you're the last question we got here. You got to unmute.
Hi, thanks, Commissioner, being here.
My pleasure.
I'm pleased to see you and talking about this PFAS, but in my professional life, I did the design of the most efficient biological phosphorus removal system in this North America at your plant, Ragnon plant, some years ago. So I know you're doing a great job, and your staff should be proud of.
You helped make it a state-of-the-art plant. I have to say, all of our facilities win awards, partially for what has been done in the past and what we do currently. We're well within them all, our permit applications, our permit processes. We meet or beat all of the rules that they put on us. But we're getting to a point with the new potential promulgated rules coming out of the EPA, particularly, I don't know what we're gonna do unless we start pushing back.
So
I'm sorry.
yeah, I support your idea of going back to those manufacturers and start a campaign. So far, we have been passive, as you say. And how long we're gonna wait, you know?
Well, I think part of it is, and I don't know why the media is part of this, but they are. Every time you see it on TV or in a news article, it's all about firefighting foam. The people have to be made to realize that it's an everyday products in their homes. Then maybe we'll get more people involved in saying, well, what's going on here? But right now, again, you go ask anybody on the street about, are you aware of PFAS? Most of them have heard of it. And you say, well, where do you think it comes from? Well, it comes from firefighting foam. When you tell them that it's in your house, they don't believe you to start with until you get into more detail. So I think it's a matter of educating the masses to start with, and something that the media has not done. It's simply about firefighting foam.
Let's start something together.
I'd be glad to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming and educating us. I think you found you're preaching to the choir here. I think we are all on board with this and think we've got way too much of this everywhere. I know we have some committees that came up with some great handouts about where all of this can be located. And I know there's a number of us that have been working with legislators in Michigan on banning product use of it and all of this. So I'm so glad you were here and helping us today.
Well, I would offer, first of all, I want to thank you for having me. But I would offer assistance in any way, including if you ever come up with an idea on how we can advertise all the home products to the masses. I would think that I could find some ways to help financially do that, whether it's through commercials or literature, or however we want to do it. But I believe that's where it's got to really get started, and I'll be glad to help with that on a financial basis if we came up with a plan that sounds like it'll work.
Well, Jeff, you and I are going to talk more, sir. Thank you.
I'm glad to. Thank you all.
All right. Anything else then? Connie, you still have your hand up. Is that just, are you waving? All right, cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you, all of you.
Yes. All right, I think next on the agenda, we had Erica here from the Great Lakes PFAS Action Network. And she was going to talk about some re-granting, mini grant opportunities for communities. So Erica, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Sandy. And hopefully you can hear me okay. Just want to check my sound. Everything good on your end? Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, for inviting me to speak today and just talk a little bit about what the Great Lakes PFAS Action Network is doing. So I was just gonna, I don't know if it's possible to share my screen. If not, maybe Sandy, you could pull up the website.
Yeah, well, Kelly, can she share her screen? Kelly.
Yeah, yep, she can share screen.
Up in the right-hand corner, it should say share with an up arrow there. Erica, do you see it?
Yeah.
You should be able to just hit that and then pick the screen you want to share, and then it should show.
Okay. I think my computer its privacy settings look like they're on, and let me oh, this always happens to me at the right moments where my computer wants to be super secure.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if that worked now. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, so this is
Looks good.
Yeah, this is the Great Lakes PFAS Action Network website. And first, I should say, if any of you haven't been to this site, I encourage you to take a look around it. It's glpan.org. And one of the things that our network prioritizes is resourcing and supporting other impacted communities. So Sandy and Tony are co-chairs, and we have 3 other community leaders. And then many of you are part of our action team. And so we really want to think about we've talked a lot about how can we resource communities. And one of the ways that we do this is through mini grants. And so if you're on our page and you go to apply for funding, you can see all of the details about this. And we did this last year, so I know some of you are familiar with it, but I wanted to just encourage folks to think about applying this year and really have an understanding of what this program is. So all the details are on this page. And like I said, it provides communities and directly supporting groups resources in order to support on-the-ground education, organizing, or PFAS testing efforts. And I think one of the things we really tried to articulate this go around this year is that funds are going directly to PFAS impacted individuals or groups or organizations supporting. So that means that we're not looking to fund nonprofits working on federal policy, unless they're also working, directly with community members and engaging them, because we want our resources to be going into communities and supporting projects that people who have been most harmed by PFAS to really think about what they can do on the ground in their communities. So these are just some of our values. And I think if you apply, we thought that it was important to be explicit about some of these things. You can read through those if you go to the website. This year we have 3 funding areas. So you can think about it as a project that would fit under education and awareness raising. And this is, have some examples. Any kind of research and testing, another example, or community organizing. And projects that kind of touch on one or more of these is really kind of what we're looking for. And I should say too that the education part is also about, educating local, state, or federal decision makers and, people in communities. So this is some of the eligibility. I kind of touched on this about, organization support, and I won't get into all the details, but you can read through. If you have any questions, we'll have time to ask some of those questions. But we are looking to fund groups working in Michigan, but also in other Great Lakes states as we are growing into a regional network. So you can read about that. And then one important note is, these funds are coming. The funds will be coming directly from the Ecology Center because that's the fiscal sponsor of the PFAS Action Network, and so the Ecology Center can't fund organizations for their time. People, funding directly people for their time unless they're part of an organization. And that's just getting into the weeds. And if you are interested in more of that, I can definitely talk through with you some of these eligibility requirements. The funding amount is total, we have $35,000. So again, these are mini grants. So we're anticipating funding about 10 projects between 1,000 and 5,000, but of course we'll consider larger and smaller budgets. The application timeline, it opened last Monday. We will have some office hours if people have ideas for projects or want to just kind of get some questions answered. We have one on August 16th and August 31st, and those are the links. And I'm happy to send out any of this information too after the meeting. And then the applications will be due in September 12th, and everyone who received funding will be notified by November 3rd. And finally, just to get more information, we will hold a webinar on August 30th, and that will include some examples of past projects. Teresa Landrum, who I know is part of the COG, will speak a little bit about the funding she received last year with her group, and Denise Trabig-Pointer, who also received funding to do some testing projects. This is a little bit about how funding decisions are made. It goes through our 5 community leaders, kind of taking the initial review using a scoring criteria, and then the steering committee, which is made up of Tony, Sandy, and myself from the Ecology Center and staff from the Michigan League of Conservation Voters and the National Wildlife Federation. We wanted to be more explicit about what we're scoring on this year. So we wrote out, some of these bullets here are really kind of the things that we're looking for. Things like, prioritizing communities that identify as overpolluted and disinvested, projects supporting Black, Indigenous, and people of color that have been harmed by PFAS. PFAS impacted communities or individuals are involved in the application process and designing or partnering on the project. Like I said earlier, that's a really important part of our values and what we're looking for in projects. And then a little bit more, about goals and that they're kind of falling within some of our tracks that we're looking for. The application form is right on this website. You just click it and it's a Google form. We tried to make it short, so there's fewer barriers to applying. This is the whole application. The answers are pretty simple and there's no word count. Shouldn't take, I think the idea though is that before you get to this point, you either talk to one of us or kind of read through all the guidelines and feel good about filling out that form. But again, if you get to that form and still have questions, I'm here. I know Sandy and Tony are available, other community leaders. This is a little bit more about the timeline and reporting. But I think, yeah, the overall, let's see, how do I stop presenting here? The overall goal is, like I said, you all have ideas, you all have needs in your communities, or are partnering with other communities across the state. And this PFAS Action Network is really there to lift up those projects and provide not just financial resources, but we have expertise in a lot of these areas that you could get support on. Just at the Ecology Center, we have trained scientists who can help with some of the testing if people want to go that route. We have kind of a robust communications team partnering with conservation voters. We have connections to lawmakers at all levels of government. So the idea is that we'll lift up the projects, hopefully get some attention to it, but also provide you kind of individual support of what you need. So there's a lot of opportunities here, and I just really encourage everyone on this call to think about if there is something, a need or a project in your community, to reach out to us and think about applying. So are there any questions or reactions about any of that?
Anyone have questions or ideas or thoughts on that? I wanted to make sure people knew that that was a resource that was out there available to communities. So.
Erica, did you say how much the grants could be for? Is there a maximum amount?
We have a total of $35,000 to give, and so we were estimating that grants would be probably no more than $5,000.
Okay.
But I think we want to, we're open if it's a little more, or we want to be flexible, but probably that would be about the average cap.
Okay. All right, thanks.
All right. Well, thank you, Erica. If people want more information, you can go to the website or, oh, wait, last minute question from Mary Blanchard here.
I actually don't have a question. Holly, Michigan was one of the areas that Denise Trabick-Pointer helped us with some testing. And just want to thank Ecology Center and GeoPan for providing that service. And we'll look forward to projects that are coming up for other members. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mary.
All right. Well, thank you, Erica. Thank you for hanging on here. And we'll be in touch, I'm sure.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Right. Thank you. All right. I think the agenda is just flipped from last time. I don't know if we have any committees that we're able to meet. I know it's summer, so we can just run through these quickly. Mary, anything on the membership committee?
Unfortunately, no. Membership did not meet, but I am looking forward to getting in touch with Daniel and Joe and any other people on the COG that would like to join us. I'll report on it in the Engaging the Public subcommittee, but last month on the COG, Samra had brought up the fact that having a welcome pamphlet or some kind of information would be helpful to new members. And we did talk about that a little bit more during the Engaging the Public subcommittee today. So I'll report on that then.
All righty. Website review committee. Did that get a chance to meet? Anyone?
Sorry, I was having, this is Brad Benman. Yes, sorry.
That's okay.
We were having I was a little trouble unmuting myself. We did meet at 4:30. Kelly brought some information to our attention. They're working toward possibly refreshing the website a little bit to make things a little more clear, adding some information regarding what's new that's likely going to come out first, and then some other things that we talked about, but approvals need to be gotten, and we're not sure when that's going to happen. But the things that they're looking at were helpful in our opinion. So
great, good, thank you. Let's see, what else did I have there? The thing moved, so I can't see it now. We'll go to the Engaging the Public subcommittee.
Okay. I think the one that you missed was the prevention subcommittee, and I'm a member of that, and we did not meet this past month. I do believe that Dave Wynn has just been overwhelmed with things going on in Oscoda, and so he has not gotten back as far as scheduling that meeting yet. As far as the Engaging the Public subcommittee, when we were talking, Samra brought up some good points for the welcome pamphlet as far as actually addressing expectations of new members and what they could look forward to, especially people who have not participated in government type things before, or groups even. Some people don't have that experience. So we'll be looking to do some more activity on developing that type of a welcome pamphlet. And anybody is welcome to join. We'll put out a notice about that when we get to that part. We did talk also about the MDHHS campaign that had been brought up previously on whether COG members would be helping with that. And apparently that has not been set up yet. Brandon Thomas joins our Engaging the Public subcommittee on a regular basis, and he's with MDHHS, and he told us that they are working on more of a social media campaign, and he himself is working on a PFAS educational toolkit. And as that gets developed, he's going to let us know more about that. He also is going to be checking in with MDHHS management as to whether he can share some of their lists as to who the MDHHS contact people are for regions, so that throughout the state we can find out which people would be responsible for your area. As far as getting like literature and things like that, that could be helpful. So we appreciate Brandon's help with that. And he did talk about Kristen Ward. She's a community engagement group leader. with MDHHS, and she is one of the people who was helpful to me when I was looking for materials to give out at a community meeting, and they were able to mail some pamphlets directly to my house that I was able to give to community members, and it was really helpful. And then Connie also asked where to find some of the state TUA website information. And Kelly was able to go on the Eagle website and show us where you could actually find that. And I don't know, Kelly, if at the end of the meeting, if you think if there's still time, you might be able to, oh, okay.
All right, since Kelly's mic is off, let me narrate for you. So you're going to the Eagle website. On the Eagle website, you can go under Maps and Data, and you can get to what we call the RIDE, which is the Remediation Information Data Exchange. So the RIDE database. There's a lot of good information here, but it's basically you can get into it. You open up the database. And it's got an inventory of facilities. So a facility is labeled as anything that has soil or groundwater contamination above a generic criteria. So you can sort it by county. You can sort it by a whole bunch of different things, but it's a sortable database. And then you can go into any one of these. If you click on one of them, Kelly, let's see what's in them. So there's a couple of different things that come up with RIDE. It will tell you the type of contaminant class. And then if there's, in this particular one, there are some that actually have some files associated with them. So we're trying to get files in there. So if you, yeah, so there you'll see in this particular file, there is a BEA associated with that site. It's probably not the only thing in the file, but right now we have the BEA that's publicly available. You can see the little printer icon, and I think it allows you to download it. So you can probably print it as a PDF and put it on your computer if you want to get that. Some of the files are slowly starting to come out. We're trying to scan them all, get them all out there, going through them and redacting things if there's PII or personally identifiable information there. So you'll see there comes the baseline environmental assessment. So this is what we hope to do, and with all of the files in the future, is have information there that people can just click on and they don't have to FOIA anything. Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Wonderful.
So,
and that is on the Eagle website, not the MPART website.
Exactly. This is all contaminants for Eagle. The other thing that is out here then is all the other maps and data. You have all your open portal stuff. So your My Enviro portal, it's got Environmental Mapper, which I think we've talked about before. But this maps and data is something that if you haven't bookmarked this one, and you're one of those geeky people who love their data, love to roll around in it, this is the place to go, because it's got all kinds of the Environmental Mapper, my Environmental Portal. It's got the dams and the air monitoring and a number of story maps. There's a lot of good stuff on here. So, and there is data that is open data that you can download and play with the spreadsheets if you want. So anyways, we can drop that in the chat so that you guys can grab it and save it to your computer and bookmark it.
Perfect. Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any questions for subcommittees or any comments or anything? All right.
Easy group today, Sandy. Easy group.
Abby, yeah. Did you have any updates, Abby?
I do have a couple. I wasn't necessarily next on the agenda, but if you don't mind, I'll go next, and then we can get to the what you're going to do for your next meeting. We didn't put slides together, so bear with me. Kelly didn't get the pretty slides. A couple of things I wanted to bring to your attention. We do have 3 new sites that are out there that we are adding, that we've added in the last month to the MPART website. One is a Michigan Tube Division, that's in Eau Claire in Berrien County. I don't personally have a ton of information on that one. The other one is called Quality Plating. It's a Muskegon Heights site, a plating facility with quite a bit of PFAS in their stormwater runoff. And probably groundwater. And then one is the Bay City Fire Department, station number 2, that there had some releases of AFFF to the ground there. So those 3 sites are now MPART sites and are on the website. We've got a ton more in the wings that we're working on getting onto the website as well. So those are the big ones. The other thing I will bring to your attention is that because Michigan is out in front on a lot of issues, but with the issues that we've had around agricultural situations in land application, not just with biosolids, but land application in general, we have been asked to present the story of what Michigan has done and what Michigan's struggles have been in trying to, handle PFAS with the farms and agricultural issues without any federal guidance, without any federal standards. And so we've been asked as a state to be one of the 3 states. So Maine, Michigan, and New Mexico will be presenting to a subcommittee to USDA, FDA, and EPA on Thursday, talking about the need for federal collaboration, coordination, some strategic response here for agricultural issues, and additional guidance and assistance from federal government on these farm issues, because although these are the 3 states that have been chosen to present here, I know of many other states that are having similar issues with land application of various materials, not just wastewater treatment sludges, but other materials that are causing issues with farms, with groundwater contamination, with other things. And so it's going to be an important meeting. The subcommittee that we are presenting to represents more than just those 3 agencies, but it also represents personnel from DOD and other parts of the federal government. So looking forward to that, and looking forward to hopefully kicking off and having additional conversations with our federal partners on being a little bit more aggressive in this field and making sure that we're being strategic and coordinated in those responses. So that will be Thursday. The other thing I will note for you is on Representative Conlon has asked us to do a town hall with her office. That will be on August 21st at Hamburg Township Hall. So it's going to be for her area down there in and around Livingston. I'm not sure exactly her exact district boundaries, but a good chunk of the Hamburg Township wastewater treatment plant, as well as a multi-lake wastewater treatment plant. Those are the 2 sites that kind of started the conversation, but we'll be extending up. There's a lot of PFAS sites in that area. So this will be more of a PFAS 101 for the residents in that area. And I'm sure we'll have additional questions, but that will be from 4 to 5:30. And that is being hosted by Representative Conlon's office. So if anybody's in the area, come join us. It'll be.
Where is the location?
Fun. Hamburg Township Hall.
4 o'clock?
4 to 5:30, yep, on the 21st. So it's a Monday afternoon. Can you come, Joe?
Maybe.
All right. I expect you in my cheering section. Don't ask me anything hard, all right?
Okay.
So, so I just mentioned that because obviously, if you're around in the area, I feel free to join me. I think that'd be great. Other thing, the Eat Safe Fish Guide will be out. It might already be posted today. So Eat Safe Fish Guide should be out. The press release will go out. I'm being told it will be going out on Friday. So But it should be on the website if it's not already there today. I have to look and check and see if it's fresh. Maybe, do we have anyone from DHHS out there? Brandon?
Abby, it's Marcus. The guide is up on the website today, and as you said, yep, press release will be going out on Friday.
Yay! Okay, love it. Thank you, Marcus.
Lynn has her hand up.
Go for it, Lynn.
Go for it, Lynn.
Thank you. That's great news, Marcus, by the way. I just had a question. I'm just like following back, Abby. And I don't know that much about it, but it's about the idea that some fertilizers, not just like waste, you know, when you talk about land application, and I don't know how all my terms, but I know whether it's from wastewater treatment plant applications, but also about using, I'm outside, by the way, that's an airplane going overhead. No, that's our lawnmower. Does that enter into the discussion at all, or have I been missed a meeting? I just, it stood in my mind because the article was about, it also referred to Maine. And that some states allow fertilizers that actually do contain some PFAS. Is this ringing any bells?
Oh yeah. No, we are planning on, we're putting together, our friends at MPART are putting together a presentation for this group, probably September, looking at discussing the differences between biosolids, between fertilizers, between bagged fertilizers versus compost, what that all means, and then the intricacies of the law, because what's allowed in a fertilizer is different than what's allowed in compost and what they test for. And so that presentation is in the process of being developed so that we can, and we're trying not to make it too meaty and dense because we want to have the conversations. But it's good conversation, and we're doing what we can to keep an eye on all of those situations. So as things are coming to us, we are asking for as much testing as we can get in those situations, but we'll get you more details for next month's meeting.
That's fine. That's fine. And I was more asking about it in particular regarding this event that you're going to be participating in. Is that thing part of discussions that has to do with agricultural and the PFAS? And recycling? That's all.
No, this is going to be much more general PFAS 101. It'll discuss these particular wastewater treatment plants, unlike what Jeff presented on. These are very small. They have very low concentrations, but they are above groundwater cleanup criteria, but low concentrations that's in groundwater. So that's how the conversations are starting, but yeah.
Thank you. That helps clarify. I appreciate that. And I think that Jeff and Joe should apply for a mini grant.
Yes, absolutely.
That'd be a good idea.
Absolutely.
I'm great with ideas, just not the, necessarily the execute them. But no, seriously, it was really nice to have Jeff attend tonight, and good presentations, and also Erica explaining that better. I just wanted to express my gratitude for that. And I'm done. There we go.
Thanks,
All
Lynn.
right. Anything else, Abby?
I don't think so. Kelly, did I forget anything? Or
nope, I think you covered it.
All right. Well, the last part of the meeting, we wanted to talk, because I know for a few months, people have talked about wanting to have a meeting that just COG members attend without, needing to bring in all the MPART people. So we can have kind of maybe an open and honest dialogue, talk about sort of what our goals are for the future, what's working and what's not working. And I wanted to kind of throw that out there to see if that's something people are still interested in doing. And then try and coordinate what that would look like. And I have a Zoom account. I could set that up so Kelly wouldn't even need to bother with that. But I just wanted to open up that discussion to see what people think about that. And Mary and Jason, if there's more to the conversation that I've left out, feel free to jump in here. So What are your thoughts about just having a COG member meeting? And Mary's got her hand up.
I just wanted to say from the leadership standpoint that we were trying to be responsive to the fact that our members wanted that type of meeting. And I think one of the things for me that, I don't know, if it's clear what our purpose is and the limitations that we also have. And I'm interested in seeing about developing kind of a criteria as to telling how the COG is successful or not successful. We don't seem to have a way to, you know, whether it's on a local level or whether it's on a state level, how to gauge whether we're doing a good job. And the other thing I think, you know, would be a good thing to talk about is the subcommittees, because we have limited numbers of people who join into the subcommittees. And for one thing, on the website committee and on the engaging the public subcommittee, whether they're even at a time when, if members wanted to join, they probably couldn't if they're actively working, being at 4:30 and 5 o'clock right before these meetings. I think the engaging the public subcommittee, when Rick was leading it, we did try to change one of the meetings to an evening, and it didn't seem like it made much difference as far as attracting new people. So I think those are the things that I was thinking of as might be good topics to bring up. Thanks.
Thanks, Mary. Any other thoughts or any ideas, or yes, I'd like to do it, or no, I wouldn't? Lynn. Go ahead, Lynn.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I see a few benefits in the sense that we never meet in person, and we don't really all know each other very well. And I think sometimes a benefit of simply meeting is, you know, even just like having a little bit more chance to explain what you're doing and why, and if new people are coming on, that gives them a chance again, like even if you did it once a year, to just go around and, you know, how long have you been on, what's your experience, how did you get on this, it just builds a bridge that wouldn't happen if you met in person naturally, and it still can happen. And the other advantage to that is, we did it a couple times, is that you don't have to necessarily have a facilitator. It seemed to work naturally, that people could come in and come out of the conversation, or you could hear other people laugh or groan, and I could do with a little more groaning to give me feedback when I'm going on, you know. But it's I think it's just a natural way, and that people who know each other then can often find ways to interconnect. I think the subcommittees, for me, I would say, contrary to what Mary's experience was via Rick and that moving of the date, I think it's kind of hard to have it right before these other meetings. It really limits the length of them, for one. And if you're, whatever you're doing in your day, if you want to try to have a meal or get back in time, to me it might work better to do it, or even do it every other month, off cycle of when the actual COG meeting is. I don't know the answer, but I think there could be probably a better time.
All right, so Lynn, I hear you say the benefit of us getting together separate would be that it gives us a chance to just talk a little more openly and freely, and we could do some of that kind of problem solving and figuring out things.
Yes, and the other thing is, I think the last thing, and I'll be brief, I think it helps us to manage expectations.
Yes.
My expectations have changed when I see that what we've been able to do and also what we've not been able to do. And I guess sometimes I like to be able to talk about that. Like when Jeff got on about talking about, and I'll stop if I know what I'm doing. Yeah. I'll let other people speak. That's it.
Thank you, Lynn. Daniel.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I still think it's a good idea. I've said all this before. There are a lot of topics that come up and have been coming up over many months that it's not. I don't think it's appropriate to have nonpartisan state officials, non-political state officials there, and I also don't want to put them on the spot. In those discussions, make them feel uncomfortable. I don't want to use up their time, but there's a lot of issues that I think a lot of us are engaged on that are just somewhat outside the scope of the COG, and I don't want to muddy the waters of the COG discussion time with everything else that we should probably be thinking about. Yeah, I'll stop there. There's lots of good reasons, but I think that's just the chief one.
All right. Good. I hear another vote for it. Any other comments or thoughts, votes for or against, or interests, or? So I'm gonna. Oh, go ahead.
I think it's a good idea to
Okay.
have our own meetings, and then with all those good points that earlier being said. So I think it's a good idea.
Great. Thank you, Joe. Abby, you got your hand up.
Well, I agree with Lynn. I think there's a lot of benefit to meeting in person. We can function in a virtual world, but it's not natural for us, and we need community, and this community of people assembled for a common cause is important. So I will throw this out as MPART, because everybody's around the state. We haven't tried to make anyone travel. We've tried to make it accessible and open to everybody. But we are willing to host a day, an evening, something centrally located if you all want to get together. I'd be happy to do that before the weather goes bad. And if we want to do some special presentations or bring somebody in just so that we can get together and have some time to actually meet with each other, do something more than, we probably wouldn't record it. We probably wouldn't do anything fancy like that, but at least come in, do some presentations and have something that's worth the travel, but also something that could, give us time to actually see each other's faces, which is so important, I think.
It is so important. As a psychologist, I will tell you that is so important. So here's what I would like to suggest this. Why don't we try, does anyone know how to do a doodle poll or something? Anybody?
They're pretty easy. They're pretty easy. You can just go online and do doodle poll and it'll help you fill you.
Okay, so I'll try to, one of us will throw together. Here's what I'd suggest. Let's do a virtual meeting with just members in the next month or so, next 4 to 6 weeks, where we could just get together to kind of try to start formulating things like, how do we want subcommittees to work? What's our charter and purpose? How do we measure our success? And then we can also work with Abby. That'll give you some time to talk about would there be some benefit for a hosted meeting. I saw Stacy put in Lansing is pretty centrally located. So maybe we can do that as well. So I think that sounds pretty exciting and pretty. So we'll do 2 different things. One is the virtual meeting, and then an in-person meeting as well.
How about this? I will see about taking the October 10th meeting and see if we can, I'm assuming, is it better to still try to keep it like maybe a start of 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock? Anybody got any preferences for time for a meeting like this? In lieu of our virtual meeting, we could do something in person.
Oh, go ahead, Lynn.
Well, I'm thinking that October sounds lovely, and I'm also thinking about the warmth of October afternoons, that it starts to get darker earlier. So maybe it would be nice to start a little earlier, so that some of the time could be outside even. Perhaps.
I mean, I know some of you are retired, but not everybody. And some of you have jobs, so I don't want to, but if I give 2 months notice, could people try to finagle something to work out the hours?
How about we talk about it as a group and figure it out first? I can't be there. I know I can't be there on the 10th, but I think earlier would work for most people. I know I'm finally getting a vacation. So
Is that the week you're getting a vacation?
yes, I'm going to Yosemite. I've never been there before.
All right, we'll talk.
But
I would like to
everybody
do
can be without me. That's okay. I'm not
Oh
bad.
God, no. Oh,
So
no,
let's start
Sandy.
first with this virtual meeting to figure it out. Sound like a plan?
We'll come
All
with
right.
you to Yosemite, Sandy. We'll come with you.
I like that idea even better. You could send us all to Yosemite, Abby. You got a new director. Just run it by him. What's the worst?
Yeah, I get my portal gun out. We'll all walk through and we'll all go. How about that?
Okay, sounds like a plan. All right.
Okay.
Anything
Good
else
night.
we got to talk about for tonight? All right, wonderful. Thank you, and thank you, Mary, for arranging that speaker. He was wonderful. Yes, I love the idea of an MPART road trip. And Abby's paying even better. I like the way Randy thinks. Randy for president, yes.
This is Sam. I'm on the line, but on the audio call, I couldn't get on the Teams meeting. I just wanted you to know that I'm here.
Okay, I'm sorry. Who is this?
Samra.
It's Samra Lickman.
Samra. Oh, great. Okay. And I see Connie Boris has her hand up.
Yeah, this is a question for Abby. Governor Whitmer signed a budget that was huge for Eagle. Did you get any staff to help you in the MPART?
Not specifically for MPART, but many of those staff will have PFAS duties, but not specifically to MPART. I don't get a budget assignment. MPART does not get a budget assignment. All of the funds that we use are directed through the departments and the divisions. So, but no, we've gotten a student and we'll be asking for some additional positions, but we'll have to work through those processes.
Okay, one other question. It kind of relates a little bit to Lynn's question right at the beginning. You know, a lot of us have devoted an awful lot of time and effort on the COG since 2018. We volunteered our time. We volunteered our time even when we're not on the COG, where we're trying to develop public notification documents or how to run a meeting, what kind of Robert's Rules of Order we should use. A lot of volunteer time. When we ask for information on behalf of our county or our cities, and we're not getting a response, but we're getting told, why don't you FOIA that? Don't you think, Abby, that when we have worked so hard and volunteered so much of our time, that we should not have to pay for a FOIA request for PFAS data for our own communities?
Connie, I can't make the rules for this. We try to give you as much information as we can without having to have you go through those channels. But when we have to dig through files and we have to actually start copying files, I can't avoid FOIA charges. When the secretaries have to go into the files and actually start pulling things, I can't avoid things. So we gave you the data for all the landfills with the results. But if you want the hard copies, there's not much I can do about
what you
voiding.
basically, okay, we'll discuss this later, but basically you didn't give me any data. It basically says that all the PFAS data for all the landfills, pretty much all the landfills, were none detect, and that is not correct. I want to see proof of that. I wanted to see your sampling locations on a one-page map. That's all I asked for. I also asked for the lab, not even the laboratory data, just give me a summary of the lab data. But I got to know where they sampled. If they sampled up gradient and got none detect, that means nothing. So, and I'm not
Connie,
getting
I don't
data
know.
need to
Yes.
have for Wayne County. And it's for me, I have found it extraordinarily frustrating. And then to be
I
told,
understand
well,
that.
if you want more data, go FOIA it, pay for $600 for it. That's not a good appreciation for people that have really volunteered, given their heart and soul to the COG.
Well, I appreciate your efforts, Connie, but when it comes, not all of our data is electronic. So if I had a way to get it to you electronically without having to go through the pain and suffering of having the secretaries pull it and copy it, I would do that. But I don't have that data readily handy for all of the landfills in Wayne County. So it's going to require some digging. But let's have a conversation offline, and we can continue this, because I think we're still a little bit crosswise on what exactly you're asking for.
All right.
All right. Thank you for bringing that up, Connie. Okay, I think that's everything on the agenda. So look for a doodle poll for our other meeting, and we will see everyone in September when everyone's back to school.
Sounds good.
All right.
I gotta
All
buy
right,
lunch
thank
box.
you.
Okay, good.
Bye.
Bye,
All right, see ya.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.